like Haudenosaunee are kind of like the Inca of the North, right? We have so many varieties of corn and beans and squash and things that we have to offer. The world's going to be looking to us really soon. And our people need to get used to that idea. I think we're going to be really integral in what it is our kids are going to be eating in the future, or our grandchildren is not going to look like what they're eating today. They know what their traditional teachings and foods and flavors are, and they're going to carry that with them wherever they go. And eventually they'll get to a point in life where they start saying like, man, all that stuff we did makes sense. They're like regular yellow onions, I guess you would say. Is this porcelain? I can use this. We have a culinary garden, which is a lot of herbs. We have 11 varieties of heritage tomatoes that we grow. So we'll grab one of those and throw it in our soup, because why not? The fact that I grew up with traditional foods and the fact that I was a chef, it took me 20 years to say, oh, I never thought about putting those together. I didn't know anybody would be interested in that. And then you can see we have beans too. I'll take some of these maybe. These are chives, it looks like. I think we can get inside and do some cooking now. This is what I'm going to give the kids for lunch. So these are just biscuits I made. They have the Haudenosaunee's black corn. So this is elk meat that I'm using. So when you're eating a traditional meatball that's probably pork or beef based, there's about 20 to 30% more fat content in it. This here is elk lard. So I'm going to add a little bit of that, and then we're just going to use it in the pan too. It just has a little bit denser of a finished product just because that fat content isn't there. Okay, so something like celery is an indigenous ingredient, but it's from our garden. We're going to put some wild rice in there. We call it manumin, or we don't call it that. The Anishinaabe call it that. So I use their term because it's their food. So I cooked that, almost a little bit overcooked. You don't want it too hard. You don't want these little sticks inside your meatballs. But you can see just how it kind of splits and pops open. It's definitely really healthy for the kids, and it's developing those taste buds and getting them used to eating that type of rice. What I have for seasoning is I have a ramp salt, a smoked salt, and ground up like pulverized wild onions. So we'll mix that all up, and then we'll put our egg in there as our binding. Okay, so get that in there. Okay, and that's about all we need for our meatballs. We'll just have to ball them up. Okay, we're gonna get that going, and I'm gonna put a little bit of the lard in there as well. And that's just because we don't want our meatballs to stick, because it is a really lean meat. So one thing you're going to see is it's not going to have all of these juice or like the fat cook out, because there is no fat. So what you're actually will end up seeing is water in the bottom. So ideally I would cook these in the oven, but the kids are going to eat soon. So we're going to cook them in here, and then the juices and everything that's left over we'll just build it right up and make the soup right in there. So I'm going to cover that up and let them cook through, and then we'll be able to start our soup. So those are almost cooked through. What I'm going to do is take them out, and I'm going to take them off the heat and set them aside while we'll build our soup in the pot, and then we'll put them in at the end, just because they're still warm right now, so we don't want them to end up falling apart because they're still warm that they're formed. So as they cool down, that'll actually help them stabilize a bit, and then we'll get the rest of lunch on. I'm going to cook the vegetables in it before I deglaze it with, I have some beef stock and some tomatoes and stuff that are going to get put in. So by using indigenous ingredients, that kind of takes it where you don't have to make it healthy, it already is. Like you have to adulterate it basically to make it unhealthy. Okay, so this is the Haudenosaunee sweet black corn that I'm going to be using, and you can see how it's all puffed up. It's been lied, or the scientific term is called nixtamalized. What it does is it takes the per cap off the corn, which is that outside hull that's really hard and gets stuck in your teeth when you're eating popcorn. So these are called sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes. So they grow on this really pretty flower They're little ones and they look like little sunflowers. So this is in the sunflower family. And these actually, you can eat them raw or cooked. These are our probiotics. You can't just eat one thing or grow one thing together, right? And you see that happen through history with any food culture and any food history. I don't know, to me food culture is just fun, right? Like you learn and you're kind of like, why did they think that? They didn't eat tomatoes because they thought they were poisonous because they were red? Like, you know, there's just so many things that are, I guess, cute little factos. There's a lot to our culture, and I still feel like I'm somebody that knows nothing at the end of the day. And a lot of our learning happens in things like the cornfields because you have nothing to do but you're picking corn, but you're talking.
So what are you making?
We're making soup for lunch. Yeah. So I'm just putting some stock in here. This one's just a beef stock. Like we left the bits, and so we're deglazing the pan, right, with the that we had from the elk. They might only have a bite of it today, but you know, in a month or two, they might be requesting it every day. I'm gonna put the rest of this in for seasoning. Like that was just the seasoning that we had earlier. And I'll put all the stock in there. Just have whole tomatoes in it, so I know the kids aren't gonna eat the whole tomatoes. So this is when our corn will go in. I'm gonna put it all in there, it's quite a bit. I'll put the meatballs in there now, I guess. We just got like 6 different Haudenosaunee varieties of things that we were able to put in there. And at the end of the day, it's just gonna taste like a regular soup, but it's definitely more like nutritionally dense, and it's also feeding us spiritually as well. I'll just kind of put like 1 meatball in each one, and yeah, they don't eat a super lot. So. And then if they want more, they'll just like, you know, hand me more. That I've even noticed with my own boys, like, you know, in the 2 weeks that we've been doing this, that they're already at home when I'm making stuff. They're like, okay, sit down, eat. Like there's no, do I have to eat that, or can I have this instead, or you know, all those other things that comes with trying to feed kids. Need the butter? Okay, Hottie, so there's meatball in there. You like meatballs. My kids are the worst eaters out of all of them. You want to bite? We're not going to try? Some of these biscuits here too. I just want some of those. I wonder but I've ruined their palates for them. That's my fault. Kylo. If you're taking on being part of this Indigenous food movement, we're realizing that you're not only that thing. I'm not only a chef. My mom's not only a farmer or a seed keeper. It's all intertwined, and we're realizing that that's our life. That's our lifestyle, right? Like we don't particularly have like a religion. It's just a way of life, and everything fits into that way of life. Like Haudenosaunee's been over here just kind of keeping our stuff sacred, and now that we're joining that conversation, people are really being blown away by like the flavors and by what we have to offer. So I'm just I'm really happy to be able to be part of that.